Hey, welcome to another Raid Shadow Legends video. I'm Wood. In this series we're comparing two accounts that I started at the same time on the same day, and I'm playing the same way with one major difference. One account is free to play, the other has a monthly spending budget of $50. It's day 82. Let's check our progress. Thanks for joining me today. Green border around the free-to-play account, no border around the budget account. Just so that you know when I switch back and forth. And if you're new, hi. Picked up 4 pieces of offense set today, 5-star. So not very exciting, but tomorrow we get an epic book on both accounts. That's exciting. The epic books are precious, and we're building some epic champions. So it's very nice. Look, we got Prisms again. I love the Prism events. And this one is kind of what we suspected would happen. We've got the Legate Teox here. I was mispronouncing it at first. I wanted to pronounce it in Spanish when he first came out, and I actually looked it up because I didn't feel confident about it. And I guess it's a term of the clergy, and I didn't know that. I didn't know the term. The pronunciation guide online actually has it being pronounced Lagat, I guess. If I heard it correctly. But yeah, anyway, most people are now saying Legate, so that's what I'm going to go with. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how to pronounce it. It really doesn't. He's got a great kit, and he's a great prize if you can get him. So I'm hoping that they'll give us at least 2 opportunities with the Prisms again. This is a good, it's all Lizardmen, and most of the epics here offered are pretty good Lizardmen. You've got Delaja here, who's part of the Mikage fusion. So if you don't have a Lady Mikage yet, she's, it's worth going for this Prism summon because you're a lot more likely, 94% chance that you're going to get an epic, and where there's only 10 epics here, you've pretty much got a 1 in 10 shot, and that's pretty good odds for this game if you're looking for that. Venomage is very good. Quargon the Crowned is a reviver, but I don't really like him that much. I'd rather just stick with Broadmaw as a reviver in the epic Lizardmen. Drake, he kind of hits hard, but I don't think anybody builds him anymore. Jarang, I've never built a Jarang. I don't really know why you would. I've never missed not having one. Venomage is great. Venomage can solo a bunch of content in the game. She's very good for Amius, the Lunar Archon, when you get that far. I actually like Basilisk. I do have one maxed out on my account, and I used him in the epic Lizardmen secret room, and you can use him in Faction Wars. I've got enough legendaries now that I don't use him anymore. He's got this guaranteed stun if he has enough accuracy on his A2, and then he has a passive where he revives with 30% HP when he's killed. So he can actually solo some stuff too. If you get him fast enough and get him to take enough turns, he can pop back up and keep going. But all in all, not that useful of one of the champions that does a self revive. He's probably one on the lower end. But Aox, remember, he can be very good in Hydra and in Demon Lord Clan Boss. He's good in a long fight where you're taking a lot of hits because he extends debuffs when he gets hit. He also has decreased attack AoE and decreased crit rate. The decreased crit rate is if they have more than 50% turn meter. It's kind of odd, but yeah, and he has a decreased turn meter on the decreased attack part. But it's a place. When he does the decrease attack, it's a place. He doesn't hit, so the affinity doesn't matter with him. And that's a 2-turn on, a 3-turn cooldown. So if you got him fast enough, you can keep the decrease attack on, even through Poison Cloud in Hydra. I used to use him in Hydra a little bit to just because I didn't have another reliable decrease attack that could place. And so I've used him there, and then he also has some poison on his A1. It's not great. It's like it gets up to a 30% chance. With each hit. So to me, that one almost sounds like it's going to land more often than it really does. But, if you're early game and he could be your best option. And his aura is kind of funny. He's got increased accuracy in Doom Tower by 60. So he's a good champion, but he quickly gets replaced. But, all the legendaries are really good. Nekmothar he's kind of one of the perfect champions for Hydra. Like, he does, 3 or 4 different jobs for you. He's got the AoE increase speed and AoE decrease speed. He does decrease attack on his A1, and then he also has a leech along with that decrease speed. And then he's got a bunch of turn meter fill, when each time a debuff on an enemy is removed, transferred, or expires. So all that debuff working, and then he's also got the speed in all battles by 19%. He's kind of like a Swiss Army knife in Hydra. And sometimes he doesn't fit into your team. Like if you've got maybe a Lydia coming in or something, and you're depending on her for the increased speed, and then you do something else for the decreased speed. And if you're building some kind of a team that kind of depends on the synergies of the champions you're using, but he's so versatile that he can almost fit in, on any team that you have. And if he doesn't, he'll fit in on one of your second or third teams. I've actually got 2 of them built, and I use both of them in two out of my 3 teams on my main account. And then Krokmar's a hard hitter. I haven't seen him used very much in Arena, but he's kind of a hard hitter, and he's got some annoying stuff that he does. Yeah, see, this passive that he has, whenever this champion attacks, decreases the target's attack or defense by 5%, as well as accuracy or resistance by 5%, depending on which stat is the highest. Stacks up to 30%. So every time he hits you, he's reducing whatever stat you value most out of attack, or defense, or accuracy or resistance. So over a long fight, if you got a really tanky team set up in Arena or something, over a long fight, he can really decrease your stats by quite a bit. So yeah, I think Krokmar is a good one there, and I think you could use him. I don't see a lot of people using him very much. Back when I started playing, Draco was one of those that people would mortgage their house to try and get. He was so good, and he still is. Anything that places both decreased defense and weaken on the same skill is a valuable champion to have, and it's a place, so you don't have to worry about affinity with him. And then he hits really hard on his A1. If you have a Draco, he's really good in your Demon Lord Clan Boss team, but I could see him being used all over the place in the game. So Draco's a really good, especially if you had this Lagat Teox, Draco would be a really good one to pair with him, and also that Nekmothar. Like, you could make a really good Hydra team out of the lizard men that are just offered right here. So Fushan is essential in a couple of the Demon Lord teams with like with Mithrala. He's really, really good. And then he does this insane A1 where he just has a 15% chance of placing an extra hit each time he does it. So it just keeps stacking and stacking, and so you can actually hit many, many times. Good. He hits hard. He's got 4 times at random on his A3. So if you're going up against a boss, it hits 4 times and puts the decreased defense on the boss. And yeah, I really like Fushan too. He's got one of the best speed leads in the game because it's all battles by 24%. But Pythion, just great reviver, great cleanser. He was a fragment. I think he was a fragment summon. I don't think he was a fusion. I think he was fragment. But yeah, just he's so good and does a lot of damage mitigation, resistance in all battles by 60. Just he's really good in a lot of places in the game, and his revive is very good also. It's a 50. He gives you 50% turn meter and 50% HP. So it's a really good revive along with strengthen. So you do have a chance. A lot of times revives, you're reviving your team just so that they can get killed again. And Pythion's revive is pretty good. It's not the best in the game, but it's pretty good. And then Scathix is a really good cleanser also. He's got a cleanse of your whole team, and then he puts block debuffs up for 1 turn and a shield. No, block debuffs for 1 and a shield for 2 turns. And it's a really good one, but it's a 4-turn. Yeah, it's a 4-turn. It books down to a 4-turn cooldown. He'd be a lot more useful in a lot more places if it was a 3-turn cooldown. I think one of the reasons they didn't give him that 3-turn cooldown was because this passive that he has is pretty powerful. He places block damage buff on himself when his HP drops below 30%. I think the intention was for him to be used in Arena or something. Yeah, he's got resistance in all battles by 40, but I think the intention was to be able to use him in Arena, and have him, take the damage, of the first hit, put block damage on himself, and then go and then cleanse your team, and then put the shield on. I think maybe that was the intention. And then with his A2, he has a chance to steal a random buff from each enemy and it's an attack on all, and it's a 3-turn cooldown. The problem is this cleanse is on a 4-turn cooldown, and when it's booked instead of a 3, and there's so many places where you need that 3-turn cooldown. But he is void. He does have a decreased speed on his A1. And that's a really useful skill too, for a lot. It's just not as reliable. It's a 50% chance to put on, and his animations are really slow. So if you're building a speed team, it's kind of hard to use him. But he can be a very good, useful champion if you need him for that specific thing and you don't have a better cleanser. Anyway, so I think it's a good Prism pool. I mean, especially because we only have a chance to get this Lagat Teox when he's in special events. We can't pull him normally from shards. So I think it's a Prism event that's worth going for if you can. And I'm assuming that this Sand Devil, it starts in 30 seconds, so we can look at it, but we'll have the prisms at the top of that. So yeah, I do think that's worth going for. On both accounts, I'm now I'll go back to giving an update here. I was able to get the Fire Knight tournament, at least with the coins on the free to play here. I was able to get the serpent coins. And I also got them over, I'll check the budget here. I also got them on the budget, but I was able to finish the Fire Knight on the budget. I had more gems and energy to use. Oh, and good, we've got another classic arena takedown coming also, so that's good. Yeah, so we do get one summon if you can complete the Sand Devil, a turn attack. I don't know what else they have going. I don't know if there's going to be prisms available anywhere. I wanted to quickly interrupt myself. As I got started editing my video today, I noticed that the Dragon Tournament showed up. I saw it on the calendar and I didn't say anything about it, but it wasn't showing up in game yet. Here, I'm on the budget account. And so for the rest of the video, I'm talking, you'll see me talk as if there is no Dragon Tournament. There's a special Epics only Dragon Tournament going on. And there's also a Dungeon Divers coming up tomorrow, from the time I'm recording this, tomorrow. And the Dragon Turn account is only a 2-day, now we're half day into it. So there's only a day and a half left on this Dragon Turn attack. But I wanted to make sure everybody knew, if you're watching this in context, the Dungeon Divers doesn't start for another, half a day. And so we're only going to have an overlap between this Dragon Turn attack that is only epics, and I was able to create a team on both the budget and the free to play that solves that. On my main account, I was able to do one also that can go up to about stage 5, I think, of Dragon Hard. I think I'm farming at 16 with epics only. That seems like a pretty comfortable that seems pretty comfortable with the budget. With the budget account and with the free to play, I can get up to about 16 with only epics, and that's a fairly comfortable farm there. But knowing that the Dungeon Divers doesn't start for another half day, I wanted to wait. I wanted to just make sure everybody knew, if you're doing that dragon, because we have a 3 times on speed, we have a 3 times extra chance on speed gear. Yeah, you see, we have a 3 times extra chance on speed gear for Dragon right now. And so if you are doing this Dragon tournament with epics only, and you can see, I've got a level 50 allure because kind of she's the only epic I have built to do, and it works. This is working just fine here on the budget account. Actually, my free to play is working a little bit faster, a little bit easier. Points are about the same. The number of points I'm getting per energy is pretty close to the same. And so, but I wanted to make sure people knew, so that you're not feeding a whole bunch of energy into this Dragon tournament until the Dungeon Diver starts. So my plan, what I'm doing is I'm going to try and finish as much of the Sand Devil as I can, today, and not put too much extra energy into this Dragon tournament until Dungeon Divers starts. Of course, with Sand Devil, if you're doing that one also to be able to get your Prism crystals, you're not going to get any points for the Dungeon Divers. So I think it makes sense, if you are feeding or pushing extra energy, it probably makes sense to do that one first, because we also have the Deck of Fate starting, and that includes some champ training as well. So there's going to be a lot of things to do over the next couple of days, and I think if you're going to be doing this dragon anyway, and you want it to overlap with the Dungeon Divers, you're only going to have a day to do that. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that, and make sure that you have that context, because the rest of the video I was unaware that Dungeon Divers or that the dragon with the epics only was even starting, and I found that out after I finished recording. So I wanted to make sure everybody knew that, and take that into account as you make your decisions where to put your energy today. All right, back to the video. Yeah, you can see on Fire Knight here on the budget account, we were able to collect just the top reward, which is a 6-star epic chaos ore. I kind of didn't think that I would have much use for those, but I actually have used a couple of the chaos ores that we've picked up. Every once in a while you get a really good piece of gear, and you get a lucky, a triple roll or something on it, and I've rolled a couple of them just to see what we can get. I haven't gotten super lucky yet, but that's why you use those, is just in case, so that it just gives you another chance for some RNG that'll help get you some speed. Yeah, so we got Classic Arena coming up, and that'll have the Prism, or that'll have the Serpent. Oh no, that's in a day. Yeah, in another day from the time I'm recording this, we'll have another Classic Arena takedown. And then we also are going to have a Deck of Fate coming up in a day. And this Deck of Fate looks like it's going to be one of the gear ones, where it has a bunch of the gear pieces in it. So we can look at the calendar here and see if it says earn fate points and get stone skin and protection accessories. Oh, that's actually really nice. Even when you're doing Hydra and you've got all 3 teams going, and even if you're doing a 1 key and Nightmare and Brutal and Hard every week, you still struggle to get enough protection and stone skin to be able to maybe put together the Savage and the Savage and stone skin combination if you're using an arena nuker for that, or the protection along with maybe some speed, or there's a lot of combinations you can do, and the more accessories that you have available to you, the better. It's snake season in Teleria, so get fate points by summoning souls from soul stones and upgrading champions. Use fate points to flip cards and get rewards in the Deck of Fate event. Protection gear lets your champion... Yeah, we know what protection does. Yeah, so that'll be really cool. It looks like there'll be some speed charms in there, and speed charms, accessories, void shards, legendary tomes, and then the serpent points. And if you're doing the Mithrala, and I like that this isn't a summoning, it's basically pulling your soul stones and champ training. So that makes it pretty accessible as long as you've got enough soul stones saved up. We'll have to see what they're giving for points for that. But I think that's a really good one to participate in. And if you're doing the Mithrala Soul, you're going to need that. So I think that's a good one to go for and participate in. We're probably champ trained out right now after finishing that champ training event that we already did, but it's okay. We'll keep going. It's always another one. There's always another champ training to do, and it gets old after a while. But we've got plenty on these 2 accounts, on the budget and the free to play. We've got plenty of champ training to do, so that'll be a good one. Well, that starts in 24 hours from about this time, and yeah, Serpent Titan event. I wanted to talk a little bit about Path of Serpent here. I had a comment that the commenter, and I appreciate these comments, even if I disagree with you. I appreciate you making the comment, because just because I disagree doesn't mean I'm right. But he said that I made a mistake by not going, this way on the path for the 100 gems rather than these 75 oils. I guess I don't necessarily well, I do disagree. I still disagree. I don't think it was a mistake. We've been getting gems pretty easily. These oils are more, to me, they're more difficult to get. I don't have a team that can farm high enough to be able to get those oils. And so to me, the 100 gems, the way I look at 100 gems, it's 2.5 energy refills. And I'm not sure you would even get that many of the oils from 2.5 energy refills, especially at the stage we are, where we can possibly farm. Yeah, those greater oils, that's what they call it. I always forget. The mid-range one. Greater oils. And see, we are not even farming a stage where we can even have access to those yet. So I think those greater oils are more valuable to this account. Now, maybe if you're a little later game and you're farming a stage in Sand Devil, or especially if you're in 25, you might be able... That might not be a good deal for you. You might rather go for the gems. But that's the reason that I chose to go that route. That's the other thing, is I'm also glad, and they always do this, on these path events, they always give you 25 hours. If you accumulate some points, they always give you 24 hours to spend your coins. uh, still with the tree completely open. And after the 24 hours, they give you some silver, some equivalent, whatever they deem as equivalent value for the coins to buy them back. But it's not very much silver. You can have quite a few coins, and so anyway, if you can spend your coin, if you've got some coins left over and you have enough to buy something else with those coins, here you can. It makes a lot more sense to buy whatever is available here, that you can afford with the coins that you have left over, than it does to wait and get the silver back, because it's not very much silver. They don't value it very highly when it comes to silver. But you can see we did get the 50 here. I knew we had to get 50. We're not going to. I don't think on either of these accounts we're going to be able to get the 5-star for Mithrala. We're going to miss the summoning events. I just don't want to summon shards just to be able to get that Mithrala soul. Mithrala is quite a ways away. We're not even doing a chest on normal Hydra yet. That seems pretty far away for us, and I don't want to risk not being able to do the next fusion, even if we can do it. I'm not even sure I'll be able to. But yeah, I don't want to take the risk that we might not be able to do the next fusion just to be able to participate in this Serpent Titan event. We're doing pretty well in it, and we're close. I think we're going to be able to get the 3-star no problem. I'm not really going to worry too much about the 4-star, but picking up a few of these rewards might be nice. I think that's kind of where we're going to end up for the amount of activity and the amount of attention I want to give to that. And that's on both accounts, both the budget and the free-to-play. I'm sort of looking at it the same way. We were able to finish the artifact enhancement event on both accounts, and that was 100 of those serpent coins, so that was kind of a big one. And then I was able to climb into gold 2 on Classic Arena. I actually got into gold 3 for a little while on the free-to-play account, and then I was working on artifact enhancement when the reset happened, and I had fallen into gold 2. So we're in gold 2 on both the budget and the free to play, and I'm just going to keep trying to climb with the coins that I have. I think it'll probably be a couple of days, but I can see now I will be able to get up into gold 4, gold 5. And so I appreciate the advice that I was given by a commenter. Just get up in there. And I was like, hey, easy for you to say, buddy, but yeah, it actually is a lot easier. I just wasn't thinking about it the right way. And so, yeah, I'm just buying the refills so that I can find easy fights. And the five gems is a good investment to be able to get us up into gold 4, gold 5. And then once we're up there, we can stay up there. So let's collect our Demon Lord rewards for today. We got 2 chests in Brutal at the Master Chest level. I was only able to put 1 key into Brutal today. I'm not keeping any 4-star anymore. No more 4-star gear. We're doing all 5-star. Look at this. This is so. I mean, it's not perfect, but look, this early game, a 5-star cruel boot with even though it's flat attack, but we have crit rate, and that's the big one. And so that's really good. I'm glad. That's nice. Okay, and that came from the Brutal chest. Now let's get Nightmare. Let's get a Sacred Shard from Nightmare. What do you say? No? Okay. No shard at all. Well, we'll agree to disagree. Yeah, that's a terrible glove. That's a really terrible glove. I don't like that. What else do we get? Okay, we get 1 shard, but it's an ancient shard, and that's pretty terrible. It's a 5-star, and I will just roll it up just to see if maybe we can get a triple speed. That's the only reason I'm going to keep that. It'll probably go away. Next artifact enhancement, I'll go through my list and put some rolls into some of those pieces of gear. Yeah, so Clan Boss, we're kind of comfortably 3-keying now. On the most days, we're comfortably 3-keying. Affinity can cause us some problems, and every once in a while we have some bad RNG, but most of the time we can 3-key on this. Last couple of days I've had a bad luck and had to put a 4th key in on Nightmare, which isn't a big deal. So we'll get that started and go back to the free-to-play here. I may try and do this. I wasn't going to try and do this Sand Devil tournament. It's only 3,800 points for these early game accounts. Let me see what my main is 6,300 for the same reward for this. That's crazy. I don't know. It's kind of a catch-up mechanic, I guess. For early game, you can actually get the same reward for about half of the number of points. If they kept it the same, it would be a no-go. You wouldn't even try and do it, but it makes it enticing. I think I will try and do that on both the budget and the free-to-play, just to have another Prism to work with. Let's see what we got for the free-to-play. Now, free-to-play, I am having to put a 4th key in on Nightmare all the time. I don't think I've gotten a 3-key yet, but it's close. It's getting close. Epic book, that's nice. It's got speed. I'll keep it. The crit damage, on this immortal gear, you typically don't build a damage set with the immortal, but the speed will be nice. So if we get a double roll of speed, that'll be a keeper for this level of account. It's hard, it's hard to make that adjustment. Oh, let's see this be speed and a void shard. That's nice. It's not speed. That's a terrible boot. Okay, I have had some questions on basic gearing, for really early game players that don't really understand what's good gear and what's bad gear. The only thing I'll say, it's really difficult. The only thing I'll say is, on your damage dealers, you want to have 100% crit rate, and then as much crit damage as you can, and as much of the stat that their damage is based on, attack, defense, or HP. If you look at all their skills, if it's a defense-based damage dealer, and it says that their damage is based on defense on their skills, then you want to have their defense as high as possible. Along with having 100% crit rate and then as much crit damage as you can. Early game, it's very difficult. Even to get 100% crit rate sometimes is hard to do. Some of your champions, they have extra, like a Soulbond Boyer, an extra 25% chance of inflicting a critical hit. And she has that on all of her skills, right? So with her, you only have to build 75% crit rate. And then you can put the rest of your, stats into damage and then her attack or whatever. Because look, you see all of her skills are based on attack. So early game, it can be very difficult. You're trying to build your great haul bonuses and you're trying to build up and get good gear and everything. And then you need speed. Speed is non-negotiable on virtually every champion in this game. I know there's a couple of examples where you want them slow, but it's like 2 or 3 champions in the entire game. So most of your gear, you want to have speed. And then you want to watch and make sure that your rolls, when you're enhancing your gear, that your rolls go into the stats that you want. If your rolls start going into stats that aren't as valuable on that piece, it's usually a sell. If you can't use that gear piece to get you up to your 100% crit rate and your speed, as high as you can get, speed is kind of tricky. Sometimes, you're building speed tune teams and things like that. You have to have your champions at a certain speed, but then still have your 100% crit rate and then your crit damage and then your whatever your damage stat is. So it can be very difficult. But if you're not building a damage dealer, you're building a support champion that that they're not necessarily going to do damage for you. You don't have to have 100% crit rate. You can put HP percent on the gauntlet or defense percent if that's all you have. But it's better to build HP than it is to build defense unless you're going for something specific and you already know that you want to have high defense and low HP. If you're doing a targeting, if you're doing some kind of a targeted champion that you want the boss to hit them or you want spiderlings to hit them or something. There's a lot of really complicated things about gearing in the game, but the main thing is speed. The first stat is speed, and then with damage dealers, the next thing you want is your 100% crit rate. And then everything grows from there. And then as you keep going in the game, everything sort of keeps ballooning out, and you keep trying to get as many stats as you can. On the free-to-play account, I was able to 6-star miscreated monster. Worked on his gear a little bit in the artifact enhancement event. I worked some more on the gearing of Rhodos too. His masteries, we're still working on his masteries. He's at level 60, but we're still working on masteries for him. I want to get him in Helm Smasher pretty soon. I kind of switched up. He's in Relentless gear, and I did kind of switch up his gear a little bit. I found kind of a combination that works a little better, but I will show you. I don't have 100% crit rate. He's at 99%. It's not good, but it was, I sacrificed that 1% to get something that I felt like was a good trade for that. I still would really like to have his HP a lot higher than this. He's only at 58,000. We deal with what we have. And then he's only at 2,200 on the defense. I'd like to have his defense higher. He scales really well off of both of those stats. And then at only 181 crit damage, it's pretty good for the level that we're at now, but I still would like that to be higher. And his resistance and accuracy doesn't matter. I mean, if you can build resistance, it's good, but it's not a priority right now for what we're doing. at the end of the champ training tournament, I 5-starred a couple of champions just to get some more points. I do think that I'm gonna be working on Mausoleum Mage a little bit too, because we do have Nether Spider on this rotation of Doom Tower. It's the Eternal Dragon rotation, but you can see we've also got Nether Spider there, the Magic Affinity Nether Spider. And as we get higher in the Doom Tower, we're really going to need a cleanser on that initial onslaught of the poisons that are not resistible. So I think we're going to put some effort into making Mausoleum Mage at least capable of doing that. He may not be a 6-star for us, but we do have a Mausoleum Mage on both accounts, so he'll be good. But we also have a Skathix. We do have a Skathix available to us on the budget account. Oh, you can see I did 14.27 million, so that puts us in 3-key territory for the day. So if we're kind of consistent with that gives us 3-key. But yeah, back to what I was talking about. The Skathix can be a pretty good cleanser for the Nether Spider. Just option. I'm just looking at options for cleansers. I'm a little more intrigued with the idea of using Skimfos there instead of Mausoleum Mage. I like Mausoleum Mage, and I probably still will build him on this account. But I like Skimfos. I think he can be used in more places in the game. What he does is he pulls all the debuffs onto himself from your team, and then he transfers them back to the enemy, which is much more useful than just a simple cleanse. And he also has a decreased speed on his A1. Yeah, he also has a decreased speed on his A1, and he has decreased attack on his A2, and it's an AoE. And then he has 100% turn meter steal from the target, which won't work on the Nether Spider, but I was thinking on regular Spider that would be a really nice skill to be able to use also. So until we have a Cold Heart for turn meter control in that way, I think Skimfos makes sense. We'll do Mausoleum Mage on the free-to-play account and Skimfos on the budget for that purpose of trying to solve Nether Spider. At the higher, and the first few of those, you can kind of nuke the spiderlings down easily, and usually the boss spider doesn't do enough damage to nuke down your team. So I think that's the plan there. And I did get Zavia 6-starred. It seemed to be a consensus. Most of those who and thank you for commenting if you had an opinion about that. I agreed with those who commented about Zavia. I did get a comment also about Necrohunter. He said he's useless. Use him as a 5-star chicken. I'm not going to use any epics as 5-star chickens because we have epic empowerment. We have a 5-star soul for him, and we also have Centranos, and we have faction guardians. So I don't think it makes a lot of sense to use epics as 5-star chickens anymore. When I first started playing, I did it all the time, but I'm really reluctant to do that now, especially with some early game accounts like this. We don't know what we're going to get in the future, so I think I'm going to hold on to him, at least build him up to the 5-star with the 5-star awakening, so that we can put a 5-star blessing on him. But yeah, Zavia turned out to be the way to go, I think, on this, and I was able to get a pretty good Savage set put on her. For this, for where we are. It's not perfect, but this glove turned out pretty okay, and it actually ascended crit damage with crit rate, and it does have a roll of crit rate in it, and we do need accuracy on Zavia. So the defense rolls, that's not good, but it's rare. It's a rare piece. But yeah, to have crit damage gloves on a champion, and we're kind of early for that. I've only got 4-star boots. We got a triple roll of crit rate here on this weapon, but no speed and nothing else that really helps us on that. So, it's okay gear, but it's not as good. And we have a long way to go. That's my long way of saying we have a long way to go. We did also, I'll show you, the most exciting thing is we have our ninja available to collect, and I just haven't done it yet. I will. In fact, it's not exciting anymore. We've got Siege going on. We don't have clan versus clan, and you don't get points for pulling these anyway. So you don't get points for pulling these out of the inbox anyway. So I'm just gonna bring him in. So now I have a ninja. It's exciting. It's great. Yeah, automatically next priority for a 6-star is ninja. We'll use all the food that we have available to us during the champ training tournament as a result of that. And we're going to really try and get Ninja 6-starred on both accounts as soon as possible, get him geared well enough so that he can be our main damage in Demon Lord Clan Boss and in Hydra, and pretty much any other boss that we can use him on, based on affinity and everything else. But yeah, he's so good. He's so good to have on your account. So yeah, highly recommend making him your priority. If you're getting a ninja for the first time, I highly recommend making him a priority. Unless you're already doing great damage and everything, and you're comfortable where you are pretty much everywhere in the game, and it's just sort of a luxury for you, and you're working on other things, that's fine. But yeah, Ninja's so good. He's one of the best damage. He's one of the best damage dealers in the game, and he's especially good for longer fights. He just gets stronger and stronger as the fights go on. If you go over to deadwoodjedi.com, he's got a page on there that shows a budget unkillable team. So all you need is a man-eater and a painkeeper, and he shows you the speeds and gives you all, there's a whole list of all the criteria that you have to follow to build one of those budget unkillable teams for Demon Lord Clan Boss. And he does have a speed tune for Ninja for that. So I would encourage you, if you're trying to build an unkillable team and you do have a man-eater and a painkeeper, and you want to slot Ninja in, he is capable of doing 1 key damage for you on that budget unkillable. Yeah, a budget unkillable with Ninja is a really good team. You do have to sub him out when you're doing Force Affinity, though. That's the only kind of drawback. So you have to have somebody else. The speed tunes are a little bit different with the other damage champion that you slot in instead of Ninja, just depending on what the affinity. If he goes to Force Affinity, you have to use a different team preset. But it's a good team, and if you only have one man-eater, but you do have a painkeeper, that's one that you can do, and with Ninja, it's a very good team. I would encourage you, if that's something that you're looking at and you don't have Clan Boss locked down yet, then that could be an option for you. That may not apply to you, but if it does, it's a good option. And Deadwood Jedi, he's got tons and tons of Clan Boss compositions over there that you can look through and see which, what you could possibly build with the champions that you have, and then you can plug them into his calculator, and it's so helpful. You can you get a visual representation of all the turns during the fight, and then you can tell, when your buffs are on, when your buffs are falling off. And as long as you enter your information correctly, and you don't use any of the masteries or gear sets that you might not be able to use for that composition, it works beautifully. And it's really fun to watch when you do your first Clan Boss team and that it's all speed tuned. It's like watching a machine that you built work for the first time. It's really fun. So I would encourage you to do that if you haven't done that already. And if you have, you know what I'm talking about. It's great. So I'm going to get going on Sand Devil on both accounts and see where my most efficient use of energy is going to be, what'll get me the most points for the turns and everything. It is a turn attack tournament, so we need to do it in as few turns as possible. And it's, usually you can find a stage where it's most efficient for you. No matter what, ideally, if you can do stage 25, that's the best, but because that's the only place to get the dust. So but if you can't, you have to sort of test it out and see how many points you're getting per energy, and then just use that stage as your most efficient, so that you can get to that 38. Well, with early game, to get to the 3,800 points, it's 6,300 for if you're later games. So, but yeah, that'll be nice to be able to do Prism. And then we've got Siege coming up. So yeah, communicate with your clanmates, and if your clan qualifies for Siege, communicate with your clan and we'll see how it goes. I still have to set my defenses in my clan. We haven't really talked about it too much that I've noticed. Yeah, it'll be interesting. This first go around with the Siege. I think we're going to learn a lot. We have less than a day now to get our defenses set, and then apparently we'll have 2 days to do our offensive battles against the clan we're matched up against, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot to learn. So, hopefully nobody will get too upset. This is a learning, I just encourage everybody who's playing and taking this seriously. Do take it seriously. It's fun. But I think we're going to learn a lot about the strategy of it and everything. So don't get too impatient with people. Let's all learn together, and hopefully, and I'm asking for patience with me also. If you're in one of my clans, and you I hope we all perform well, and I hope everybody has a good time with this. I want this to be kind of fun, and hopefully the new gear set is going to be something that people are going to have access to. It's just, if you're late game and you get a win, and then you get a bunch of 5-star gear that's really not going to help you. That's not really very fun. So I'm anticipating that that's what's going to happen in a lot of ways. But yeah, you can see even with this early game clan, we've got 41 out of 60 defenses set, and I haven't set one for either yet because I'm sort of behind most of these guys. So I kind of wanted to wait and let them fill in, you know, where they could first, and then I'll just probably fill in where it makes sense later. Hopefully this will be kind of fun and not take, you know, a ton of time. I think that's the main thing most people are concerned about. It doesn't look like it's going to take a ton of time, except for the leaders of clans that are, you know, very active clans, because they're going to be trying to instruct everybody as far as, okay, we want these players attacking these positions. And there's a lot there, you know, there's a lot to go through, and I think it's going to be kind of complicated. You know, I don't think there's any way for the clan leaders to know, you know, what the strengths of each player in the clan. You know, you've got 30 players in each clan, and it's very difficult job that they have. So yeah, communication is the key with that, but it's tough to do. You know, even with Discord and being able to post your teams and everything, and I think it's still a lot. I think it's still a lot to keep track of and to remember. So, but I'm going to go in here and work on, you know, seeing where I'm at right now. It's been a couple weeks since I've done any Sand Devils, so I might be able to do a higher stage. We'll see. I'm just going to see where I'm at and what's going to be the most efficient use of, and what's going to be the most efficient use of energy, and still get one of those prisms, because I do want to try at least one of those summons, because that's a pretty good pool, and we're kind of weak on Lizardmen. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for your kind attention and all other kinds of attention. I've been Wood, and I appreciate you.